comment afterwards.
I knew what it was. I knew what it was.
Martha and I meant to sign them first, but we forgot.
No, we can do that tonight.
All right.
I got it with me.
We can do that.
Right.
I call to order the October 23rd, 2018 School Board meeting for CUSD 201. The roll call, please.
Mr. Armstrong,
Here?
Mrs. Charlton, Mrs. Coyle,
Here.
Mr. Price,
Here.
Mr. Rudy,
Here.
Mr. Strohmeyer,
Here.
Ms. Wilson. Thank you.
Okay. First item, Pledge of Allegiance. Okay, the first item on the agenda is approval of minutes. The chair will entertain a motion to approve the minutes of the October 9th, 2018 regular meeting of the Board of Education as presented.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Abstain.
Did we get ayes? Aye. Okay. Any opposed? Motion carries. The chair will entertain a motion to approve the minutes of the closed session of the October 9th, 2018 regular meeting of the Board of Education as presented.
So moved. Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?
I abstain.
Next item is public comment. Is there any public comment this evening? Okay. Next item is the consent agenda. Would anyone like any particular item pulled for individual consideration?
Actually, I would like to, I just need to get better clarification on point number 4.
Okay, so item number 4, you want some discussion on?
Well, it says reimburse. And we haven't spent any money on it.
Right, well, it's just the, it's payments that we made on your behalf. And so it shows who the check was paid to, Intercontinental Hotel.
Right. I'm just confused as to why reimburse to me means it's gonna be money back to me, and I don't want money back. The money's not coming back to me.
I can change the wording on that
Okay,
for you.
okay. Payment 4, maybe, I mean, something along those lines, okay?
Because sometimes we do actually pay the person. This particular time, it all went to a vendor. So it's just a generic heading that's on there.
I understand, I just, for public consumption, I just
Okay.
didn't like that one word, that's all.
Okay, yeah, but in there, it clearly states that who the payee is. So these happen to be payments on behalf of board members.
Yep, that's fine.
Okay, any other questions? The chair will entertain a motion to approve the consent agenda as presented. Number 1, personnel recommendations, employment of support staff, Catherine Fisher, teaching assistant South School, Kristen Sisto, teaching assistant Westmont High School. Number 2, renewal of medical and dental insurance plans. Number 3, renewal of life and long-term disability insurance. Number 4, approval of board travel expenses. Number 5, approval of October 2018 expenditure report. Number 6, ratification of September 2018 regular payroll.
So moved.
Second.
Okay, roll call, please.
Mr. Rudy,
Yes.
Mr. Strohmeyer,
Yes.
Mr. Armstrong,
Yes.
Mrs. Coyle,
Yes.
Mr. Price,
Yes.
Thank you.
Next item on the agenda, we have several items. The first one for discussion is Westmont High School academic and student performance information, and our high school admin team is here with the presentation. Welcome, Jack.
Hey, welcome. Thank you for welcoming me. It's wonderful to be here.
Thank you.
Everybody was teasing me because I think I'm going to take a long time, so I'm going to get right to the point as much as possible. But I think that's an exciting thing that if you gave me, I would give you a couple hours to talk about how proud I am of what the work at the high school. So tonight with me are our administrative team, Kevin Weck, Janu Joseph, and Megan Vervink, and we also happen to have Lisa Hootman, who is just one of our many outstanding teachers here. So the main theme is we remain the most improved high school in Illinois, one of the top performing high schools, and some incredible things have happened. I have poured over data from high schools for almost 30 years, and we just finished what I think is not an opinion, but a fact that we had the best performance year we've ever had at Westmont High School in its 40-year history. The data is just incredible, and I want to get into some detail about that. But not just the quantitative data, but the qualitative data, because there's just as much of that too. And so I want to share some of those things with you. First of all, there is a packet, and this has been reduced. It would have been a lot thicker, believe it or not, but it includes, the front page is a snapshot of our school, and this is still, we were named an exemplary school. That's a pretty significant distinction with our 99% graduation rate, and as you'll see, that's not something, we just didn't have a good year. That's been our track record for the last 6+ years. Year in, year out, one of the best graduation rates in the country, not just Illinois. The second comes from a magazine. There is a Professional Learning Communities magazine. You probably didn't know that, but there is. It's published on a quarterly basis, and since I did not present to you last year, there was a whole article about Westmont and the accomplishments. Next, after that, this past summer, I had the opportunity to present at the National Principals Conference, and there were principals from all over the United States. And it just happened to be in Chicago, and I got to present on 2 separate occasions about Westmont High School. And there were literally about 70 principals at that conference who came up to me and wanted the PowerPoint detailing how we did what we did at Westmont High School. The next is what we call our brag sheet with very detailed information about the growth of our advanced placement program and the reduction in suspensions and also our graduation rate. And the last page is one piece of qualitative information. But there's a gentleman, Dr. Jim Serber, who currently serves as a clinical assistant professor at Northern Illinois University, but he's been a professional educator for 40 years. He was the head of LADSI, which is part of Cook County's version of SACID, and he, as part of his work, was observing one of our teachers, Daniel Finlayson, in action with the rest of the science department, and he said it was the best example of a professional learning community team that he had ever seen in 40 years of education. And let me just tell you, he's amongst a long line of excellent, accomplished educational leaders who have said that. So I'll chronicle that in my 51-slide presentation that we're going to get through very quickly here, right? So as I say, we live in an era of hyperbole and maybe questionable truths. This is documentable. We have the best student achievement we've ever had in our high school's history. Not only the graduation rate, which last year every single student graduated on time. No dropouts, nobody. And we don't play games with that because the state looks at it like a hawk. So you can't push kids out and not have them counted. Every single student graduated. That's never happened before in our school's history, and there's very few high schools in the state, especially in this whole region, who can make that claim. And that wasn't just a good year. Over the last 6 years since we implemented professional learning communities, we've averaged 99% of our students graduating. Now, sometimes students who have an IEP are entitled to education past their time with us, and the state has decided to not count them as graduates, but they still completed all graduation requirements. So also, in addition to that, We have had all of our students graduate who were African American or Latino. And sometimes people ask me, why do you mention that? Because the national graduation rate for Latino students is about 79%. So when we have 100% for 6 years, I think that's pretty powerful. When the national graduation rate for African American students sits at around 75%, I think it's pretty impressive that not one African American student has dropped out in the last 6 years. We're very proud of that, of all of our students. And for a lot of parents, they'll say, well, you know, we expect our kids to graduate. I understand that. But it really speaks to the quality of our district, and it starts with all of you, the administrative team, the teachers, the staff, and the students and parents and community. But when you get it really signifies how committed our people are to making sure every student is successful. And we never give up on kids, and that is really the key to our success. But that's just one component of it, is the graduation rate. But I do want to talk about it. Our advanced placement program is the most inclusive, and we're going to talk about why that's important, the most improved, and one of the top performing. And after years of pretty strong results on our testing, state testing for literacy, this year we had an incredible year in mathematics, a true breakthrough. And our team went from having some challenges and struggles to what I know to be one of the best data teams in the country. So when Dr. Serber talks about the science team, they face different challenges. But I think our other teams are just as strong. They're all incredible. It's a testament to it. So graduation rate, very quickly, only 5 dropouts in the last 6 years. And let me tell you, we did everything within our power and then some to make sure those students didn't drop out. But we can't just push them through. You know, they refuse to come to school. Last year, of course, every student graduated on time. And I mentioned the graduation rates for Latinos and African American students. That puts us in the top 1% in Illinois. People who don't graduate in this day and age are really in a tough place. And the state really values that graduation rate. They use it as 50% of their evaluation criteria. The advanced placement program, as you know, the most improved in Illinois, maybe the most improved in the nation. 1,000% more students are passing exams. We had 29 exams in 2013. With the same enrollment, we had 303 passed exams last year. That's just, 10 times more plus. That's just not being done in any other high school. The advanced placement scholars went from 3 to 65. Same criteria, same standards. What completely changed was the attitude of our teachers and students. Just raising expectations and getting results. There are a lot of kids who did not pass exams who still benefited from that, but that we are getting the performance also. Here's a history of our advanced placement scholars, which once again has increased by 20-fold in 6 years with the same enrollment, very similar demographics. The Washington Post Challenge Index, we're ranked number 2 in Illinois out of the regular high schools. You see we're behind only Stevenson. But in the U.S. News and World Report ranking, if you look at their college readiness index, we're ranked number 5. So, and I believe this year will be even better. So we were kept off that list because of our PARCC scores, and there were a lot of, I won't get into that story, because some schools tested all their students, some schools only tested a portion. The PARCC exam was gotten rid of after a couple of years because it turned out not to be an appropriate exam at the high school level. But the bottom line is that's where we stand compared to regular high schools in Illinois in the College Readiness Index, which doesn't just look at participation, but also looks at success rates. Here's a few stories that really bring it to life, though. So this is why not a lot of schools offer AP in freshman year. We believe in it because we have students who start freshman year who get a 1 on the exam, the lowest possible score, but by the time they graduate, they're AP scholars. But a lot of that has to do with introducing them to the concepts early on. We had a student who did not, and several of them, frankly, who did not pass their tests, but then when they were a senior, they passed a test or multiple tests. So it wasn't like we're just, trying to get the kids who are really, inclined to these exams. We open up the doors wider than anybody else in Illinois. We did have a senior who passed 17 tests during his 4 years. That's not typical, but I think it's noteworthy, the kind of opportunities we give our students. We had those 4 students, Ledwan, Casper, Lecco, and Jagailo, who passed 8 exams in 1 year. We had a Spanish student, this is another thing that kind of brings the program to life, who had a 3, and we encouraged the student to take the test early on, even though they didn't think they were ready for it, but they passed. We said, take it again and again, and became more proficient over time. So it's not just about the test scores. The other reason why we think this is really powerful is the benefits to our community and our students. The $400,000 tuition support, that's $400,000 savings. That's a conservative number. We know over a dozen students who had their entire freshman year paid for at major universities and at expensive universities just before you even look at their financial aid or any other scholarships, just because of AP. And the parents and students come home and tell us the stories. It could be as high as 20 who had the entire freshman year paid for. We're still following up on that. But we had another 25 students who had close to a semester paid for. So there's the real benefit to our families, to our students, is the tuition savings. Now, some students only get 1 credit or maybe 1 class paid for, but we literally have dozens of students who are getting a semester or a year of their college paid for. And in these days, that's really powerful. That's another powerful reason. The other thing is, and I'll just be very quick on this, other curriculums like dual credit don't have a check and balance. The AP curriculum is vetted at a national level. The courses and the exams are vetted by college professors and top high school teachers from throughout the country. And we get feedback that doesn't exist in traditional courses. So even though we have some great courses in our building, and they may be high quality, and they are, and that may be true all over the country, there's a different level of accountability, different feedback that exists with the advanced placement NIB. You're up against a national exam, an international exam, really, where you get pretty intense feedback. Plus, it really gets our kids to dream big. I'm very confident it's changed the culture of our school, especially the results. So, there's all kinds of reasons why the AP program is powerful, not just the financial benefits. The students who don't pass classes still are better prepared when they get to the collegiate level. The SAT, as I said, I want to be very brief about this, but our people have worked so incredibly hard and very effectively with our students. It led to double-digit increases. So if you look at that scatter plot, and I'll be very brief about this, but this is every single high school in the state. The schools that are scoring higher than us are magnet schools, charter schools with selective enrollment. There's no school like ours that is outperforming us. And we are outperforming about 100 schools that have half the poverty that we have. Now, that wasn't always the case. Our math scores were pretty average for years. But in the last 2 years, the math department has had a breakthrough, and I want to tell you that story very briefly. Literacy, we've been pretty strong at. We still, of course, have room to go in both areas, but we are outperforming every school like ours and the vast majority of schools in the state. The only schools that are outperforming us on the SAT, so nobody's doing better than in graduation rate, nobody's doing better at AP in the whole state. But SAT, nobody like us is doing what we're doing, and only the charter schools and schools with a lot less poverty are outscoring us. But we're not finished. We have more work to do. So that's the SAT portion. Very quickly, our math team went from, if you see the scatter plot, for about 20 years, the middle of the pack. When they really had a breakthrough and they did the process correctly, they went from the middle of the pack to the top of sector to almost an outlier, and we are going to go even higher than this. I'm confident of it. What did they do? They identified why they struggled. They were very honest about it. That's one of the powerful things about the staff at Westmont High School. They're very real about their strengths and where they need to get better, and they're not afraid at looking in the mirror and saying, we can get better. That is one of the greatest strengths, besides their compassion, that our staff has. So they identified their struggles. They realized they spent summertime, well-spent summer curriculum money, rebuilding their curriculum. They had to get learning targets that were written in student-friendly language so the students could participate in the analysis of their own data. By doing that, they could break it down student by student and skill by skill. So they could really be precise in their interventions. They knew where students were strong and where they needed to improve. And the students were part of that process. So the students were analyzing their own data. That's where they really turned the corner. And they could do that with the Mastery Connect system, which we don't just use for SAT, we use it in many different places, but it's been a very powerful tool there. So now the teachers and students could work in concert and identify specifically where the gaps were and where they needed to get better. And then from there, we could track their progress over time, and the students actually were enthused about this. Even students who were well below proficiency could see they were growing. So that was a powerful process that our team used. So these are the ways that the team used the data to really get specific and build stronger interventions, and that led to this team becoming a model team for the country, quite frankly, but to the significant increases in test scores. Great things are happening here too. You know, we've been recognized in books, by researchers, in the magazine. This is Rick and Becky DeFore, who really had more to do with the professional learning community program than anybody in the country. And Kevin and I met Rick DeFore back in '96 when we were still young administrators. But they have changed American education. But they recognize that Westmont, they're sitting here wearing their Westmont t-shirts with great pride. They recognize this as a model school. And last year, they asked me to present to all these consultants and authors from across the country. These are some of the biggest names in education. And out of 300 associates, they asked 3 people to present because they wanted these other people to hear the Westmont story. And that led to some incredible things. So this is Mike Matos. He is one of the top authors in the country, probably the most noted authority on RTI. And he heard what we were doing and was so impressed that he's going to speak at our annual AP conference and not take his speaker's fee because he really wants to give back and he believes in what we're doing. This is the guy, Anthony Muhammad, who's one of the top speakers in the country on culture, author of many books, talks about Westmont High School in his presentations. This is Janu and Megan and Kevin and I at the national conference sharing our ideas in Washington. This was me at the Capitol and talking to the top principals in the country. This is our annual conference where we had 650 teachers last year. This is the Principal Leadership Conference in Atlanta, where I was one of only 3 principals invited to tell the Westmont story. It goes on and on. This is the research that says that the most powerful thing that we can do is continue in our professional learning community work and our SMART goals for this upcoming school year. Because one of the powerful things is we really focus. We have very specific SMART goals, and it drives our action on a daily basis. And we've kept very similar SMART goals for the last 6.5 years, and you can see the results. So, but we're not done. We keep looking at how we can do better. We're very precise about that. But the most important thing is not just the data and the qualitative and the recognition by all of these experts. I really do think it's the spirit of our school. No high school is perfect, but we have a pretty incredible climate in our building, and because you don't get results like these without a powerful culture. And I couldn't be prouder of our staff and our students. And like I said, I could talk all day, but I'm going to close it here. I just want to thank the board and the community. Really is an amazing place. I have the perspective that most people don't have. I've worked in 7 different high schools. I've visited hundreds of high schools across the country. There are very few places that are as good as Westmont. And you may think that's just the principal talking, but take a hard look at the data. It's out there. There's a reason why the state said we're exemplary. I happen to think we're even better than that. But thank you for all the support that the board gives, that our teammates on administration throughout the district give us. It really is an incredible place, and I think we need to celebrate it. And that's why I'm excited to be here tonight.
I would agree, Jack. Let's celebrate it.
Thank you so much, Jack. That really was another outstanding presentation. You know, you keep coming back every year, and it's just more good news. You know, very early, and I know I've told this story before, very early when I got involved with the school board, and you're talking to your community about your schools and what they'd like to see and all of that. And so much of the comments about our schools were focused on all of the wonderful things our kids could do extracurricular-wise. They could be in the plays and on the football team and in the band, and they had all these wonderful clubs and things that they could participate in. But people were disappointed in the academics piece and felt that there could just be, you know, more there. And I'm so glad to see that over my terms on the school board, that has really come to fruition, and that people are really recognizing not only all of the wonderful extracurricular activities and things like that, but we're really known for academics as well. So it's a wonderful transition and a testament to what our community could become with the right leadership and the hard work of school board administrators, teachers, teaching assistants, cafeteria, custodial help, all throughout the district, setting that climate of success and support and compassion for our students. So thank you very much.
Thank you.
And I'd like to congratulate the students themselves. Obviously, they put the work in and
They do.
made it happen with the support of the teachers and the staff. I think that they accepted that challenge and, you know, raised the bar themselves. I think that's awesome.
Yeah, we have incredible students. I love them. They're a joy to work with, and they do fantastic work. And like the teachers, they didn't mind going the extra level.
Right? Thank you.
Thanks for the opportunity.
Thank you, Jack.
And post this everywhere you can.
Awesome.
Okay, hang on one second here. Second item on our information and discussion is the presentation of monthly financial statements.
All right, the financial statements as of September 30th, the district received $328,000 from the state during the month. $120,000 was for fiscal year 19 evidence-based funding, and $208,000 were FY18 payments. There are still $58,000 of fiscal year 18 payments and $211,000 of fiscal year 19 payments that have been vouchered but not released to the district yet. And we received 2 installments of the 2017 tax levy in the amount of $5.3 million. So total property taxes collected to date are $22.5 million, which is 95.19% of the levy. Last year, we were at 94% and then 92% the year prior to that. So we caught back up. You know, last month, we were ahead by like 25%, and now it's kind of leveled out again. And then in the education and tort funds, revenues are comparable to the prior year. We received $88,000 of fiscal year 18 payments and $120,000 for FY19 evidence-based funding. There are $58,000 of fiscal year 18 payments and $55,000 of fiscal year 19 payments that are vouchered but haven't been released to the district yet. In the O&M fund, our revenues are slightly below average right now, and this is largely due to the timing of the receipt of rental revenue because that fluctuates from year to year. In the transportation fund, we received $120,000 of FY18 payments, so we've received, that was for the fourth quarter, so we've received all of our fiscal year 18 revenue, and then we have $156,000 of fiscal year 19 payments that are vouchered but haven't been released yet. In the ed fund, our expenditures are comparable to the prior year. And in the O&M fund, again, expenditures vary from year to year depending upon where capital projects are done. And the O&M fund is 19.9% spent to date, and it was 19.0% spent to date at this time last year. And then expenditures in the transportation fund are comparable to prior year, and again, those fluctuate from year to year as we receive our invoices, and they don't always come in a timely fashion. And then we have our fund balance at this point is $25 million, and we have $24 million of the district's assets invested right now. And then the student activity report and the lunch reports are attached. Does anyone have questions?
Okay, thank you. The next item is the policy first reading.
The policy committee met to review several policies, and most of the policies, very minor changes, in some cases just footnotes, other cases 1 or 2 words are changed. The only really, I guess, significant policy is 6135. That's actually will be a new policy. That's accelerated placement program procedures. And that's situations where you have a family that would like to enroll their child early into kindergarten, or possibly you have a student in your district who is academically talented, and either it could be the parents or the staff think that that child should either be promoted a grade or in some cases in a subject area. And so this is just, will formalize the process. We've already have been doing this as a district. Every so often, we do have a family contact us about having their child be considered for early enrollment in kindergarten, and we have a process in place in which we evaluate the child to make sure that they're ready academically as well as social emotionally as well. And we've also had some students who have been accelerated in math or other areas in our district. So for us, it's really not a significant change in terms of how we operate, but it will be a new policy. The board has the opportunity to review the policies, and then in November, they'll be presented again for a second reading and for adoption by the board.
Okay. Next up is superintendent's report.
In my communication report, a couple of things. First of all, just a reminder to our parents that on Thursday, October 25th, and Friday, October 26th, we will have parent-teacher conferences. The opportunity to secure an appointment through Skyward, that is closed, but parents can still contact their child's school and schedule appointments that way. So hopefully if a parent has not scheduled an appointment, they'll take advantage of this opportunity. At our last board meeting, there was a discussion about setting up a workshop between the admin team and the board to discuss grade level centers further. And so we did a survey of the board, and so our board admin workshop will be Tuesday, October 30th at 6:00 p.m. at South School. And that'll be an opportunity for the board and admin team to explore that topic further. And then one last item for our community is that on April 2nd, 2019, there is a municipal election. Included in that will be the board election for School District 201. In the past, the school district handled that process where people would pick up their petitions and then submit their petitions. That no longer occurs at the district level. That happens through the county, the DuPage County Board of Elections. And so in the board book is a link that will take people to that site. But currently right now you can circulate petitions to be a candidate, and the filing deadline begins on December 10th, 2018, and last day to file is December 17th, 2018. And again, that's through DuPage County that you'll have to submit your paperwork for that. And that's my report.
Any questions or comments? Okay, next item is board reports. Does any board member have something to share?
I would just like to quickly thank the Fine Arts Department. Last Thursday was, they had a concert, and the marching band played for the first time, and I thought there was tremendous energy in the room from all the groups. Everybody seemed to have a great time. I just wanted to thank them again. I thought it was a wonderful evening.
Quickly, just to thank you to the WTA for hosting the mixer.
Okay.
A few of us attended. It was really great.
Very nice, thank you for bringing that up. Okay, public comment. Next item, future meetings and events. As Kevin mentioned, parent-teacher conferences this week, Thursday and Friday. And then there's no school for students on Friday the 26th. The fall play is this weekend at Westmont High School. The title is The Dining Room, and it's October 26th and 27th at 7 p.m. and October 28th will be a matinee at 2 p.m. In the auditorium at Westmont High School. November 7th, Westmont Junior High Parent Night, social media, and your high school student, or I'm sorry, your junior high student. And that was, that's the topic, I'm assuming, of the night's
Right.
activity. And then November 10th is the Jazz Festival at Westmont High School, and our next school board meeting will be November 13th at 7 PM here at the Village Hall. Okay, next item is closed session. The chair will entertain a motion to enter into closed session for the purpose of discussing personnel issues, student discipline, and litigation and legal matters.
So moved.
Second.
Give a roll call, please.
Mr. Stromeyer?
Yes.
Mr. Armstrong?
Yes?
Mrs. Coyle?
Yes.
Mr. Rudy?
Yes.
Mr. Price?
Yes.
Thank you.
And there'll be no action items after closed session this evening.